Well, welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It is Wednesday, and it's that time of the week where we now focus our attention on the unconventional side of the law. And here to help us with exactly that, we once again welcome our expert lawyer and director at legalise.co.za, Eitan Stern. He's with us, and it is a segment called So Now What? And Eitan, welcome back. And you keep saying you're only being brought back for what the Expresso presenters and crew is getting up to. Well, this past week, one of our crew members had an incident where, was at an intersection, and it was one of those moments where life flashed past him, and he kind of got thinking, what if something had happened that was, caused him to...
What would happen to the Expresso show?
Well, what would happen to him and his estate, and he's, he doesn't have a will.
It's a big thing, and I think people don't put enough emphasis maybe on it nowadays, and that's why maybe you are here. Now, for those, there's people out there that know exactly what it is, but for those who's maybe tuning in and like, okay, cool, I need to get my affairs in order, what is a will?
Okay, so while we're alive, we accumulate lots of things. You accumulate, houses and cars and animals and record collections. And a will is a document that we put together which decides how all of those things are distributed once we die. Because the reality is we're all unfortunately going to die. So we need to know what happens to all our stuff that we accumulate once we die.
So why would someone need a will? And I mean, at what age is it recommended to get a will?
Okay, so someone would need a will whenever they have property that they want to distribute. And the reason why you would need a will is because, you might be someone that is supporting a family or loved ones, and if you don't have a will, then those loved ones are not able to get the support that from your estate. So, for example, if you have a wife or husband that lives in your house, once you pass away, they cannot get your house, or it becomes more difficult.
What happens to your assets and things like that if something does happen? Let's say like a house is in your name, you have your family, you've got your wife living in there. What happens to that property in the event of?
So in the event that you have a will, they read the will and they say, okay, cool, your house is getting left to your wife or husband, and then there's a process where that happens. If you've got money in your bank or an asset of any sort, then it gets left to those people. The alternative is not such a nice one, because if you don't have a will, then first of all, people won't know what you're supposed to do with your stuff, so there could be fights over it. So essentially, you're not getting a will necessarily for you. You'll be dead. It doesn't really matter to you. But it matters to your family, who now might be fighting over your things. And if you don't have a will, that's where it really starts to get difficult, because your stuff will get inherited according to what's called intestate succession law. So instead of it being your will and testament on how your stuff gets distributed, it's distributed according to a set of laws, and that can really be kind of a difficult process, not what you want to happen with your stuff. And it can, and often does, leave families without support.
I can imagine.
And it can lead to a hell of a lot of drama. So it's really, really important for you to get a will.
So if I get a will, can it be a piece of paper, a video, like how exactly must the will be? Must it be done by a lawyer, a law firm?
I mean, we live in a digital age. Can you take that little video yourself and say, so this is what I would like?
Okay, so this is really where wills get kind of interesting, where there's been lots of kind of crime movies made about it. Because what's interesting about a will, it's the one request that you're going to make that you actually won't be around to verify. So one of the things that happens when you can't be around to verify it is it's open to fraud. And there have been cases of many people trying to fake wills. So in order to make sure that your will is your will, the law is very formalistic on how it's meant to be done. It has to be on a piece of paper. It has to be signed in a specific way. It can't be scribbled. It has to be signed in front of two witnesses. So there's some very formalistic things that you need to do. So you can do it yourself. We were just saying before that some people don't have wills because it's too complex to do. It's not that complex. It's a relatively simple document. You can find out online how it's supposed to happen. But if you've got an estate, it's valuable. If you've got a family that needs the support, go to a lawyer. Lawyers do it for quite cheap, I believe, because then they want to be the person involved that sees it through. I think banks do it, so it's quite a simple process to actually get done.
Awesome.
Well, Eitan's not going anywhere. We're going to continue this conversation, because the next thing is, where do you keep your will, who keeps it safe, and all of that. So we'll discuss all of that and more after the break. But in fact, we're not taking a break. We're going to take a quick news break. So let's catch up with your headlines.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Oh, well, listen, we are continuing our chat with Eitan Stern as we get more legal advice in a segment we call So Now What? And of course, So Now What? We're asking the question when it comes to your will. Earlier, Eitan was just explaining to us exactly what your will is, why it's important to have one. But now we have more questions.
Exactly. We need to get into that. We need to make sure that we all understand the importance of a will. And we brought the sun out for you, Eitan. You know, I know that it's very, very bright, but it's a bright topic.
It's a bright
topic. We need to talk about this. So we spoke about the will. We unpacked exactly what a will is and the importance thereof. Now, what if you want to keep your will private when you're alive? How do you go about that? I mean, I'm sure you get those requests.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes, for sure. So not everyone's going to want to know not everyone is going to want people to know what's in their will. So some people are going to want to keep it private. You might not want your family to know what they're inheriting, and you also might not want your family to know that someone else is inheriting what should be theirs. So a will doesn't have to be a public document. It can be kept private.
Okay.
You know, all you have to basically make sure is that once you die, that someone can find your will. So it's quite common for it to be left with a lawyer or someone trustworthy that can keep the will, that can bring it out once you die. So you don't need to let people know what's in your will while you're alive.
Okay.
Because that was going to be my next question: is where do you store your will, or where do you keep it in any way?
Would you have a copy? Sorry, would you have a copy of that will if you are leaving it at
So the important thing is that there must be one original copy. So whoever in your will, you elect what's called an executor, and that is the person whose job it is to make sure that what you want to happen in your will happens.
Yeah.
And that person is meant to keep the original. So you can keep it in a safe, or you can keep it at their office. But there has to be one original, and you definitely can keep a copy. But once you pass away, there needs to be that one main copy.
Now, I think there's a lot of people that are thinking like, well, I don't feel like I have anything valuable yet.
Yeah.
So is it still necessary to have a will?
Okay, for sure. I mean, so it really depends on what you define as value. So, you know, if you don't, so a cat is definitely, you know, a cat's very valuable to you, but to the rest of the world, it might not have financial value. I know it's a very hard thing to hear. So, you know, definitely if you've got financial value, it needs to have a will. But if you've got sentimental value, something like a cat, it could be artwork, ornaments. I know when my grandfather died, he left me an ornament that was very sentimental to me, and I'm very happy it was left in his will to me. You know, so if you want to make sure that these sentimental things of value get distributed to the places and to the people that you want them to go to, then it's crucial to have a will. And if you're, you know, a minimalist and really don't care about these things, then I guess you don't need it.
Yeah, all right. Well, Eitan, thank you very, very much. I mean, I think we've covered what we need to cover in terms of a will, what happens if you don't have a will. But it's a very, very important subject. So I bet if you don't have it sorted yet, I think go and make an appointment with your lawyer. I think, Eitan, you said that they do it quite, you know, reasonably at price. You can do it at banks as well.
Exactly. It's quite an easy thing to get done, and it's quite a crucial thing to get done. A lot of us think, you know, we're never going to die, but really the drama that it can cause if you don't have a will is just, you won't have to deal with it, but your family will, and that's really why you should do it.
And that is what you want to prevent, that confusion afterwards. Thank you very much.
Only a pleasure.
Phase.
So if you have a question, sorry Zoe, if you have a legal conundrum where you go, so what now? I don't know, I'm in a corner, please let us know. You can share those thoughts with us on our social media pages at Expresso Show, and we'll happily get Eitan back to answer those questions for you.